The last day of school, usually filled with joy and anticipation of summer vacation, turned into a nightmare for the students of Cherry Tree Valley High School. In the morning of that day, the sky was unusually dark, as if it was midnight, despite the apparent time. Teachers, looking at the strange sky, were worried, but they decided it was just a weather anomaly. No one could have guessed that this day would become the scariest in the school's history. When the bell rang, 17-year-old Michael and his friends, Emily and Tom, headed into the school halls, ready to finish the last day of classes and start their vacation. But something was wrong. The corridors were eerily silent, pierced only by the sound of students' footsteps. The first sign of trouble was the disappearance of the teaching staff. Not a single teacher was present. Instead, the classrooms were filled with open textbooks and unfinished assignments on the boards. Michael and his friends felt a sense of unease, but they didn't dare to run away. After all, it was the last day, and they were looking forward to parties and freedom from studying. They decided to check the school for anyone's presence, but every new class they entered turned out to be empty, and then they heard a whisper calling out to them. "Help us! Save us!" Michael, Emily, and Tom stopped, turning back. Their eyes were drawn to an old abandoned classroom, which no one had visited for several years. Yet, from it came a whisper, as if begging for help. They approached the door, and when Michael opened it, he realized it was a mistake. In the dimly lit classroom, illuminated only by the pale light of the moon, stood shadows swirling around the walls. But there was something wrong with them. They had the form of people, but without faces, just emptiness. "Help us. They will come for you," the whisper repeated, urging them again and again. The shadows began to move, getting closer to Michael and his friends. They felt fear gripping them, paralyzing them. But then suddenly they heard a sound. Someone was screaming in the hallway. Emily grabbed Michael's hand, and they ran towards the scream, with Tom behind them. They sprinted past classrooms, past faceless shadows, often catching glimpses of strange figures that seemed real but at the same time didn't exist. When they reached the cafeteria, they witnessed a horrifying sight. Teachers and other students were surrounded by the same faceless shadows, screaming and moaning in terror. But these shadows weren't just surrounding them, they were engulfing them, devouring their essence. "This can't be real. This can't be happening," Emily screamed, her voice sounding confused and scared. "We have to get out of here," shouted Michael, because fear had overwhelmed them, their minds losing the battle with this nightmare. They ran towards the exit, but the doors were locked. They pounded on them, screamed, but no one answered. And then, amidst the endless whispering, they heard footsteps, heavy and menacing. "They have come for us," Emily whispered, her voice filled with dread. The shadows were getting closer, and Michael, Emily, and Tom felt despair and fear squeezing their hearts. But then, amidst the darkness, they saw light. Faint, but still light. They turned and saw a window, through which moonlight was streaming into the abandoned building. Without hesitation, they rushed towards it. They broke the glass and climbed out, feeling the darkness recede. When they emerged into freedom, the school disappeared as if it had never existed. They stood there on the empty lot, trembling with horror, realizing that it was not just a nightmare but something much more sinister. They had survived the last day of school, which became their most terrifying ordeal, and now they understood that they would never forget this horrific day when their world teetered on the brink between reality and nightmare.